invocation or the pledge. We'll do that this afternoon, the regular meeting. So, and there's no one for public comment. The meeting is in session. First item that we have is approval of the minutes from April 17th. If you'd like to review those quickly, and I'll take a motion whenever you're ready.
Offer a motion to approve the minutes of April 17th.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. The minutes are approved. Okay. The next item for discussion is the job descriptions and qualifications and expected salary ranges. And I'll let you lead that discussion.
Yes, sir. There are 3 positions listed there. One of them has been posted for almost a year now. It was approved as part of the FY19 budget. That's the project manager position. We have not had a ton of interest in that position. We do have a candidate that we're interviewing now, but there's not been a multitude of applicants. But the job description for that position is attached. That has been posted online. It's a pay grade 23 position as posted. Pay grade 23 is the same pay grade as the 5 operation group superintendents. There's a table below that shows you what the pay band is from the min to the max, as well as what the maximum higher and the midpoint of the salary ranges are there. You've got the annual total and the hourly for both of those. And that will be the pay grade for July 1st. And note, it just as a note, we are requiring this position to have a professional engineering license, which is why it is at that pay grade 23. The person would be responsible for helping out, of course, with project management for all of our capital projects, but in the event that there is any free time available, he will certainly be available to do some in-house design work for some of our in-house projects like we're doing right now with Pump Station 4021, and we've done with some small water projects in the past, so he can help in that regard too, to eliminate some contracted engineering work on smaller projects.
So that's why you want him to have an engineering degree, is for,
That is
for
correct.
the project planning.
That's
side.
correct. You know, right now, Todd, as the Director of Engineering, has a professional engineering license. He is the only person in the engineering group with a license at this point. We have an assistant engineer that is working to get his, but he does not have it yet. So currently, all the design work has to be reviewed by Todd before anything can happen, and giving him a little support in that regard would help expedite some of these things.
I wonder if we're having trouble filling that if we had, that he had an EIT, but because he'd be working under Todd and he'd be able to get his PE pretty soon.
Right.
We might have more applicants.
Sure. That's certainly something we can look at. Like I said, this has been posted for a year as is. You know, if we want, depending on how the interview goes with the candidate we have now, we could certainly change the pay grade and allow the EITs. That certainly would open up more candidates. I mean, most people with an engineering license are not always on the lookout for jobs. They usually have one. So the candidate that's applied for the position that meets the qualifications now is simply applying for the job because he's moving to the area because of his wife. So it's not like he was looking for a job necessarily. He just had to find one because his wife got a job over in this area.
The EIT is engineering and training.
Okay.
Graduate engineering school, you have
Right.
to pass that test.
Yes.
Which is an 8-hour test. And then you have to have 4 years of experience under a professional engineer
Right.
before you can even take the license. So we're asking for a very qualified person, and we might have to lower our qualifications just a little bit,
Right.
or leave it open to that.
Well, I see, in a sense, we almost like growing our own anyhow, because he's getting experience from being with us anyhow. We do it that way too as well. I've seen people go into internships and then they turn into some of the best employees you ever had. So that might be, that might be what we have to do, depending on what you call it, the ED, the other side, what we're gonna do. That's what we do.
Well, one thing I will say is, you know, when people apply for jobs, they give you expected salaries as part of that position. The the candidate has an expected salary that's higher than the max hire, and certainly that could come into play with this as well, because we're going
Right.
to stay within the pay ranges as provided. So, you know,
What I was
he-
curious about.
he may decide that, you know, he doesn't want to take the job for what we can offer it to him for, and if that's the
Right.
case, we can certainly adjust our expectations going forward.
Okay, well, I like the EIT situation, that we get to that. I
Okay.
do. I think that'll be something that we can, I think will work well if this other one falls apart.
Right, and, you know, like I said, the assistant engineer is working to get his license under Todd now, and if we can get a project manager with either an EIT or a PE and get the assistant engineer, that would give us a lot of flexibility and a lot of support in the event that Todd has to be out for any period of time or anything like that, so.
Right.
So that one's been posted. The next two are positions that were approved in next year's budget. If you recall, we reduced the overall staffing request by 2 positions. We took 4 construction crew positions and converted them into the next 2 positions we have here. So the first one is the asset management coordinator position, and there's a proposed job description attached to that we can certainly take suggestions and edits on before it's posted, because it certainly can't be posted until July 1 when the new budget is in service. So this person would basically be involved with the data collection and data management side of asset management. They would be responsible for doing the administration of CityWorks to help facilitate that process, but also they would be managing the asset management work groups that we have. We currently have 4 asset management work groups that are part of, each group has a specific part of the asset management matrix that they're taking care of, and so we don't have just 2 or 3 people that are tasked with doing all of it. So those 4 work groups meet at least monthly. Some of them that have more on their plate meet bi-weekly, and this person would be engaged in that as well. We're asking for somebody that would be on the same pay grade as the assistant engineer, which is a pay grade 22. This person does not require to have an EIT or a PE. We would like to have someone with an EIT in this scenario, but they do not. That's not a requirement, because they could always get that license once they got here and then work under. The way it's positioned now, this person would work for the Office of the Director, since they would support all the operational staff, and they would report to the Deputy Director position. So you see the pay grade there that would be proposed. This is actually a slightly lower pay grade than what was in the budget that was approved. So I got to looking at where this person would fall in from a requirements perspective, and then the requirements match up pretty closely with the assistant engineer position. So the request here would be to slot them in at the same pay grade as the assistant engineer. Ideally, we'd get a younger engineering candidate that's right out of school, maybe 1 or 2 years out of school, that's worked with some work management system in the past and has some knowledge of that, and then we could move forward with some training and growing of that person to what the position could ultimately become.
So we're not requiring CityWorks experience?
Ideally, they would have worked with CityWorks, but all work management programs share similarities, and there are 2 or 3 that are prevalent in the water industry, and if you've worked with any of those, you can work with the other ones. So, you know, it may just take getting in on the back end and diving a little deeper up front, but it doesn't take long to get used to the new programs.
Okay. When this person comes on board, he would be responsible for the data management. Is he going to be a check and balance and ensure that crews are accurately entering CityWorks data?
That is something he would be doing. He'd be managing the QA/QC part of the CityWorks program. But that's something we don't do a great job of right now, is QA/QCing that stuff. You don't have to check every work order that goes in. You would check a sample 10 or 15% of it and see what recurring errors you're going to have. But he would do that, and also help with training the new employees on using CityWorks when they came in, getting them set up, going through the processes with them, and working with each of the operating groups to help streamline what they need in there as far as worksheets and inspection forms that they can use to help us go a little more paperless, start using our cell phones more effectively. And when we're out in the field, we can do it from wastewater treatment where their actual operator rounds are captured as part of City Works. We can do the same thing for field investigations. When we get a call out, we can have a standard checklist they have to go through, so we make sure we get the information we need and not have to go out more than one time for that. We need someone that has the time to sit down and focus on this more than, an hour a week. There's some time involved here.
So who was trying to work on this before? Was that?
That was me.
Okay.
So I'm able to put an hour or two a week to it, and, there's a lot of requests that are very difficult to achieve in 1 or 2 hours.
Sure.
So,
How does this stand with our, with Pam Crosby doing, putting all the data in, so forth like that for?
she would work closely with this person for the inventory side of things.
Okay.
The storeroom stuff we talked about yesterday, that has been some issues for us because it was maybe not loaded effectively the first time. There's
Right.
some issues with the way things are identified in there, and this person could take and do that information for her so she can focus more on the policies and practices we need to do instead of having to sit there and redo all that coding herself. So this person, we talked about this at this position we talked about at a Leadership Institute training that all the superintendents did, and all of the superintendents were very supportive of the idea of getting this person. They see it as an area of need that we have across many of the groups, and, they were okay with, we cut the construction crew for next year since they were vacant positions, and Kirk, who is losing those 4 positions, does see the benefit of this instead of having that other construction crew.
Okay, all right.
So I think this is one that could benefit everybody and would be something that could help the staff, but also help the commission when being able to provide data at a more rapid pace instead of having to track it down when requested, when we need information on main breaks or work orders in a specific area, or we're getting a lot of complaints in an area. We can provide heat maps and work order histories and things of that nature to help us make better decisions.
Sure.
Do we know of any organization similar to ours that has this position, or
Yes, sir.
how it's worked?
People call this different things. We call it, we're looking at an asset management coordinator. Some of them call it work order management specialist or something of that regard. A lot of large utilities and medium-sized utilities have this position just because of the sheer volume of data that comes across the desk in those utilities. And a lot of times people don't like calling the programmer or the contractor that does the work for you because they speak computer speak and they don't speak operator speak, and there's a kind of a lost in translation bit there that this person usually is able to translate for you.
Okay, so this person, because it could be male or female, would have experience in working in this industry.
Ideally, they would. That would be something that would certainly help because you have to be able to understand the actual workflow processes of the operations group and make those workflow processes work in the asset management program. So if they don't have a tremendous amount of experience when they get here, we'll throw them out in the field for a few months until they figure out what's going on.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, the maintenance and training manager?
As we know, we've talked fairly significantly recently about the need to improve our maintenance practices across several of the groups in our operations division. We've had some success with the contractor we've used to help develop the preventive maintenance program for wastewater treatment, and that is going very smoothly. But, that's a cost that to go across the organization is certainly going to continue to increase. This position here would be responsible for developing those programs, performing field audits to determine what practices need to be changed and how to streamline the practices across all the organization instead of maybe water distribution and wastewater systems pumping and maintenance, both putting pipe in the ground but doing it different ways. If we can standardize the way we do a lot of these things, that will help our flexibility in responding to events. They would also be responsible for running the safety program that we have here. They would work closely with the Safety Council in determining the priorities and also perform audits of the safety practices and start documenting the practices necessary and the processes we have. They would work with maintenance scheduling. They would not necessarily manage the maintenance staff. They would work with the operations superintendents and their maintenance staff to determine priorities and to help use resources most effectively across the organization. They would check on the maintenance staff, provide training. They do the onboarding for all the maintenance staff, but ultimately they would provide a plan to the superintendents that they worked on together for the superintendents to make happen in the long run. We've got this position slotted in as a pay grade 23, like the project manager above, which is equal to the operational superintendents, and we're requesting that this person, they probably will not have it when they begin, but the request for this person would be they would acquire both a water and wastewater operator license because they'll be working with the maintenance staff as both crews. So it'd be someone that has a lot of flexibility and a lot of experience in this system or another system like ours that understands our process needs and also understands the safety needs of an organization this size.
So would this person require a college degree,
No, sir, not necessarily. I mean,
experience?
experience in the water and wastewater field is the best teacher for situations like this. You know, we've got people on staff that's been in maintenance and wastewater and water for 15, 20 years that know way more about doing wastewater and water maintenance than anybody with a college degree ever will. So that's the person we're looking for this position, is someone that understands what goes on, has done the work before, and can actually help teach our current staff members how to do their jobs better.
Okay, is this somebody that we could do an internal hire?
There's a possibility of some internal candidates for this. I mean, ultimately, some people may not necessarily want to take the position if it's a lateral move, or maybe they are comfortable where they're at and not wanting to take the step up because of the increased responsibility. But there's certainly people in-house that could perform this duty for us.
A question, you're talking about training. What does teamwork do for us?
Teamwork Services provides our weekly safety topics for review.
But no training.
They do handle the defensive driving training, and they help coordinate the confined space entry and the flagger training for
No operational training.
No operational training, no, sir. They do the onboarding procedures for the basic
Okay.
HR stuff, but as far as operational training, they are not involved with that.
All right.
Okay, I don't see the salary ranges.
It's the same one as the top one. It's the same pay grade as the project manager, so it's the exact same as the top chart there.
Oh, it's that?
Yes, because that's the same pay grade as the operational superintendents, and since this person would basically be the maintenance superintendent, we feel like that would be, and have to do both water and wastewater, we feel like that's appropriate. Again, this position was budgeted in the next year's budget at a higher rate than what is being presented here. When I looked at it, it was originally budgeted at a pay grade higher than the operational superintendents, but I thought would create some equity issues amongst the staff and also cause a good bit of complaints, because you got operational superintendents that, you know, they're running a whole division and responsible for compliance issues, and that would cause problems, so.
Okay. Commissioner Duncan's comments are at the back of this. If, instead of, I mean, he was thinking more, if I understood him correctly, of an individual, another position. If we were to fit the duties that Commissioner Duncan was talking about, would they best be fit under the asset management?
They would work with the office of director, with the asset management coordinator position. They would be more helping the field work and helping to outline the necessary steps to provide the asset management coordinator to get in the system.
Okay, but could that person that we hire as the asset management coordinator perform those same duties?
They could perform some of the duties for this position, but they most likely would not be able to perform all of the duties, just because of if we're looking for a younger engineer that we can train up on these things, he probably does not necessarily have the experience out in the field to do the job appropriately.
So would that be another position that we would hire for planning and construction?
No, sir. I think our issues and what Commissioner Duncan has provided as comments here, the training and safety coordinator, he's got listed there is, you know, he's got a few more details than maybe what we provided in the job spec, but that's very, very much within the intention of the position. And the asset management coordinator position he has here is pretty much spot on from what we were looking at for that position as well. Maybe his wording may be a bit more specific and maybe a little better than the ones we use, but it very much is what we're looking for.
Okay. So actually, we're talking 4 positions.
No, sir. Two
No.
positions.
2?
Two.
Two positions. He titled them a little different than me and used some
Okay.
better language, but same thing. Still would have a reduction of 2 FTEs in next year's budget if we get these positions
Okay.
as they're constructed. On the job descriptions that are attached, certainly if you have any comments or suggestions to that, please provide them and we can make sure those are incorporated prior to posting of either of these positions.
Well, I think we should take and integrate what Commissioner Duncan
Yes, sir.
had and put it in the job descriptions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the job descriptions? If not, we'll move to the job description for the new executive director. The executive director's job description that Mr. Junkin was hired under is at the tab 2, and you can take a couple of minutes and read through that.
What are we changing, sir?
Say again?
What are we changing? Are there any change from,
I don't think there are any changes. This is just straight out of what we hired off of.
okay. I guess there's some of the changes, unless we gonna keep this on the supervisor and management responsibility. We had changed that to the deputy director, but are we gonna keep that, you know? Because all the superintendents report to the deputy now,
That is correct. The 5 operational superintendents do report to the deputy right now.
right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I kind of, feel that when we hire a new executive director, he may want to,
Okay, all right, that's fine.
design
Decide how you wanna-
the way how he's going to manage.
Yes.
Or she's going to manage on.
Yes, okay,
And wouldn't want to lock them in.
I agree, I agree.
I will say, having the deputy director over those 5 positions does help somewhat. When you talk about like emergency response and Army, they talk about span of control. You don't want to have 15 people reporting to you.
Right.
It's hard to do that effectively, so that helps cut the number of direct reports down, so it's a little more manageable.
Well, I just see it as operational versus administrative too.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that person who we hire should have the authority to decide how you want to manage that. So I agree with you. You may want to keep that as is.
When are we gonna post?
I think, I would hope that Commissioner Copeland was going to be, because I thought he was going to talk about some more of this, but I think that we need to post it. But I would say that we would post it with current salary ranges that we're using. I don't see any reason to change the salary ranges.
I don't either. Well, I think,
Salary ranges in the back.
no, it's not in at all.
I don't think they're.
I don't think the executive director, it's only, the executive director of salaries is by contract, whatever we
That's
set it
correct.
on. So
That's
it
correct.
won't be listed back there.
But we do go out with kind of a range
Right.
They have it
on that.
Did you put a range in here?
on Appendix C, that salary survey they have.
Yes, sir. On Appendix C in the Condrey study, let me find the
That's
exact,
from 2015.
back in 2015, all the pay grades we went with on page 6 of the salary survey. We ended up with Table A, or Table 2A. That was the proposed salary scale that the commission adopted at that time. It has since been adjusted by cost of living raises and things of that nature over the past 4 years. But that was what it was in 2015, and the executive director is the only pay grade 26 position in the organization.
Okay.
And on page 16 on Appendix C, it has broken out too.
Right, yes, yes, sir. That's more for, I believe, the summary of the information from the other utilities that they addressed. So that gives you a ballpark where everybody else is at on these things.
Well, I know y'all mentioned a nationwide search for this, but we definitely need to advertise with Georgia Rural Water and also the Georgia Association of Water Professionals. So there might be somebody in the state that'd be interested.
Right.
Come up with something that they can put, this is a pretty long sheet to put an advertisement on. So we need to decide what we'd like to put. Now summarize this. Publications, they have quarterly publications.
Let me ask, Janice, do we have a copy or copies of the advertisements that we sent out that you're aware of? I think Sandy would have had them. Okay, so we don't hold this meeting up too much. Why don't we do this? Why don't you do some research and see if you can find the ads that we sent out and send them to the commissioners so that we can fully look at them. And then I think we want to go, the first step would be within Georgia to see what it is that might produce. And we'd do that for maybe a 30-day period. And then after we get either no applicants or the applicant pool doesn't appear to meet our needs, we can go nationwide.
And they have their annual conference in July, so,
Okay,
if we know something, we talk about that a little bit more there. There'll be some people might be interested there.
okay, so, get those out and we'll try to, when is it early July,
Middle of July.
middle of July?
I think it's the 15th through the 17th.
So we'll plan on not going nationwide until after that conference. Okay. Is there any other discussion on the executive director's duties and positions? And I think that if you read this sometime in the evening when you're trying to go to sleep and come up with some fresh ideas that you want to incorporate, send them out and we'll see how it works.
And Don, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but I'm not sure I understand. Janice provides us the notebooks for the meetings. I know these are, I take one every now and again to look, and then I bring it back at the next meeting, but how do y'all individually, how do y'all dissect? Because
generally-
I'm seeing this for the first time this morning, so
Okay.
do I take it with me? Do I do it?
You can take anything you want out of the book with you, or again, take the book and return it later. There are a few clips and all up there, but whatever you want to take out, you take out, and then just whatever's left, I file it for a few
Okay.
months back here in the office.
You know,
He has his collection.
Yeah. She maintains of all those stuff that you leave here, she has about all the books and so there's
and
a,
that's what I've done in the past, just take the notebook and then read it and bring it back, but I'm not accumulating stuff like I do on the county side and filling up file drawers.
you can catch,
And, so I don't know what the standard practice is and how I can best contribute. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the
your wife will
actual
be
meeting.
demanding that you build a library off
It's
the
at
house.
it's at my office.
And then anything after the fact, if you may not have taken something with you and you just want to look at it, I have everything electronically by meeting
Okay,
and by subject, so I can always just grab it and attach it
Okay.
and send it to you electronically.
okay, thank you. I
You're welcome.
don't mean to sidebar so much.
Okay. That's all we have on the executive director. We'll move to the status of the Condrey presentation. Jimmy talked to Condrey, and then he talked to me. And I was incorrect when I said that I thought that it was included benefits, that it does not. The position by pay grade analysis is the only thing that we took out of it. There is a benefit summary at the back that you can look at, which is how he got to that portion of it. But the problem that Condrey runs into is the people that he contacts to get the survey either don't want to provide a full package because they don't have it, or they're trying to, maybe not advertise how much they're paying in terms of benefits. But you can see the Appendix D that tells people, what, at this time, that the benefits were of various people, or various various organizations that he contacted. He offered to update the study for $25,000 at the time, and that update would only be the pay and not the benefits, because that's too hard for him to get. It'd be an additional cost to try to redo benefits. So I guess the question that we have to answer today is, do we want to have an update to this and recommend that to the full commission? Or do we want to go out on an RFP and do a whole new study?
Well, it was done in 15.
That's
right?
correct.
Well,
Well, it was-
we've done it 14, basically.
That's correct.
So that's almost, look at almost 6 years. However, what made him decide to use these people here they use, City of Savannah, whatever? Were you trying to look at equitable water systems? Or he just was randomly picking people?
I
You don't know
can't
either, huh?
answer that.
I thought they were gonna be here for us to
Well,
talk.
that's kind of been put on hold until we had this meeting today.
Okay.
I will, the acting executive director can, arrange for him to come
Right.
and give us a talk on what he did
Well-
and how to do it.
I did speak with someone from their firm earlier this week. He is more than willing to provide a presentation. He said that if it was convenient for everybody, what he might could do was actually send a presentation down and then make a phone call, have a conference call, and go through it with everybody
Right.
when it was convenient. He did mention, as far as the benefit survey, he said that it would probably be another $15,000 or $20,000 to do the benefit portion of it.
Benefits are fine.
And he said that basically, there's not to him, he doesn't see a lot of benefit to it, because if you're within plus or minus 3% of 38%, you're where everybody else is at anyway. So, the proposal for the salary survey was $25,000 a year ago, so that would certainly have to be updated. But he's willing to do a phone call to discuss his methodologies and make sure that what the proposal is requested is what you would like to see done.
So-
He was just more saying he could do the phone call instead of driving 5 hours to do a 10 or 15-minute presentation.
Right.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I am too.
We'll do it at the next HR committee meeting.
Yes, sir.
If that's okay with
And,
it.
That's
and
fine.
purpose of this is to see if our salaries are in line, above or below.
That's correct.
Yes.
And this survey, when it was done in 14, reported to us in 15, were we in line?
No, at the time, we were not. In fact, it resulted in some significant pay raises for some that were basically in the field. And then there were a lot of the staff that work in here, they didn't get any raise at all.
Yeah.
Some of them didn't.
But it seems to have raised the executive staff salaries, or we was out of line in the beginning, I think. I know as you look at the residents or the customers that we serve compared to the area that you're trying to get the rates from, that should be indicative of your salary. You don't want to have a Fortune 500 company making high salaries, and then they're really getting their funds from low-income folks either. Now, I know St. Simon's has, we do have a very economic, high economic base there, but factor in the low income and the poverty level of what Brunswick and mainland, it kind of offsets that. So my point is that using other water utilities such as larger cities like Savannah, to use Jacksonville, so to speak, I think to me it may be a little out of line, maybe comparing apples and oranges instead of basically, if you went with population, then maybe it may be differently, or if we went with customer base, then maybe that may be a little different. But I don't know his methodology, so I think it'd be best, as you say, to find out their methodology. I wasn't here when they did the survey, and also when all the raises was given either. And at the time, I guess I thought they were, according to the survey, I guess it would be fine, but.
So let me tell you what I heard you say. Essentially, you want to have us looking at water and sewer organizations that are serving a population of less than 100,000 and greater than maybe 40,000, because we're.
Well, that's our range, that's our
That would
range.
be the bracket that we would have.
Right.
Is that the only bracket? I mean,
Well, that's a
40 to
population.
100 is a great diversity, but I.
Right, I don't want one that's serving 200,000 people,
Well,
because it'll be out of kilter, I think.
I understand, and I don't really have problems. I'm just trying to, so that when we start to Conry, what I want the acting executive director is kind of maybe tailor this more to what we have.
Right,
And I'm sorry, but I was thinking if we can get some idea of what the median income of Glynn County is and use that as kind of a filter also.
That would be, you're right. I don't know whether we did that in the beginning when he went out to do that.
I don't know either. I
So,
can't say that.
and whatever they gave us it's good, because evidently we used and we really put it to work. However, we could have put filters in, and maybe we didn't, as to how it tailored to our community, our area. But I say that because every year I used to do a market study of certain especially jobs. I would find out exactly what everybody's paying for that particular job in this area, and to find out where I stood as far as my organization. And that way, it gave me a good balance, a good level as to what I need to do to adjust up or to just, I didn't never adjust down, but to get it on an even keel. So, and I don't know whether we do that. There's certain positions that we would not, certain specialized positions that would not allude to that, but there are some general positions that would. one of them, like say, could have been customer service, could have been administrative assistance, could have been, you know, just those general, a maintenance worker or whatever. So, I think when we talk to Cadre, we can find out some more about what actually should happen or needs to happen or where we will want to happen.
AWWA and WEFTEC too, they all have some studies like this that are published, and it's based on regions and things like that. And the regions might be better, because, I mean, Clay County, Florida, those in Florida, those are pretty high income levels. Those in South Carolina, too. The one that's closest to us might be making water.
Yeah, maybe making us a tool, I guess.
Okay. If you can get with the county staff and get some idea if they have any knowledge of what the median income is.
Sure. We can get all that, the census type data.
And then contact Condre and then ask him to tailor based on the discussion we've had here today.
So basically, if we elect to move forward with redoing this, they're not gonna be using the same cities.
Hopefully
We're
not.
asking them.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mayor, do you think that we've got a out of kilter, out of sync with our median income level? Do you think we're too high, or do you, what's your
Okay,
thoughts?
so my thoughts are we are slightly above because of our community, our customer base, our median income, as Mr. Elliott said. And I don't know how to fix that yet, but the new survey probably could. And I really don't want to do a survey just because of that, but I want to see if we can get our things in line. He may have to we may use somebody else, but yes, I do feel that we are a little out of sync. This organization pays, it's one of the highest paying organizations in this community. And which is good. I mean, that make people want to come here and people want to stay. But you still got to look at where the other things are to other organizations. If we do the market study around, maybe we can find out exactly where we do stand on certain positions.
Yeah. But, and my initial thought here was, couldn't we just update this? But I'm hearing a whole different list of concerns. You know, my first thought was apply cost of living increase to a 15 report and not pay to have another report.
Right, you're right, I understand that too.
But it seems like our questions involve a whole different parameter of, you know, what we're looking for comparison, so. Yeah, we just bring them in,
Yeah.
talk to them,
Well,
set new filters and.
really, you know, as I think about it, we have to look at what is our pay here within the area, but then we also have to look at, to get the talent that we necessarily need.
Absolutely.
That's true.
There's a market that we have to hit, and I think you alluded to that, and you talked about the special skills.
Right.
And that's something that we need to try to look at also.
Yes.
Well, Commissioner Neal, your suggestion on the cost of living increases, that has occurred every year since this plan went into play.
Right.
So that has been taken care of. And so every one of these positions is actually at a higher level than what it was.
Right, but I was
about
just
5
gonna
years ago.
apply the cost of living to their 15 report and see if we're,
Right.
you know, but I understand it's a different search parameter that we're looking for, so. And I'd like to see us look at like-sized counties, median income, and then who's moving and shaking. You go to Lawrence County, Lowndes County, you go to Bryan County, they're moving and shaking. It's not just, their growth, you know, get to like-mindedness and
Right.
try to, I don't know how you set those filters, but we need somebody to carry us where we want to go. We want the information to help us facilitate that, and you know, I feel like we're in a horse race and we're the last one to leave the stall, and we've got.
Well, I think too, we did a great leap forward when we had this done. I really believe we did that. And we did a great leap forward, and maybe we didn't put all the parameters that we should have when we did this. but, I mean, it was needed. I gotta say, it was needed at the time. But we didn't really, it could be like, we jumped from, making $2 an hour to $10 an hour, and we should have maybe to jump to 7. I don't know, yeah. And I don't like to, well, I really want us to try to get a real realistic picture of how we serve in this community and being a good organization to serve the community. I'm trying to get our name, that we are looking at the needs or services to our community versus we just coming in and just zapping up what we need.
I think, in addition to that, or
Right.
to complement what you're saying there, is the community needs to know exactly that we're spending every dollar that we get from them the most
Efficient way.
efficient way
Yes, sir.
to, that they need to know that we are aware of it, and not to say we're not, but they need to know that we're not, wasting their money.
Yeah, I agree.
And any effort that we're doing in that part will gain confidence.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question, and I guess I'm segueing here. Now, I guess I want to talk about a personnel issue about an individual. So do I talk about an open session here, or do I go back there?
That would be under executive session.
Okay. Well, but it has to do with hiring practices as well. That's some, so,
Is it a specific individual?
yes, it is. A specific position, yes. So, if you want to, we can wait and go in executive session and talk about it.
Okay,
I don't mind.
We don't have that on our agenda for
Oh, we
today,
don't?
though, right?
Okay.
We would this afternoon.
you wanna do it,
We can still do it, yeah.
You'll do it.
yeah,
Here? Okay. Well, my question is about my director of administration.
Well, but we still have to go into executive session.
Go into executive session in this meeting.
Because
Okay, okay, good.
we're on air, even if we're not online.
Okay, good. All right, we'll do that. That's fine.
okay. So we're gonna go to executive session. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second?
Only you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? We'll move into executive session.
Okay, and you want Andrew and I
The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody back at 2.